Hey guys, today we're taking a look at my Gorgonic deck. Now, Gorgonics are a pretty new archetype. They're still kind of in the beginnings. They haven't been rounded out too well yet, but they do have a few cards, and you're still able to make a deck around them if you kind of build them with some other deck types. So I'm using Gorgonics with kind of Rock Stun, that type of thing. So it locks down your opponent, it keeps them from doing things, and uses the power of Gorgonics, which is Gorgonics, kind of like reptilians, they can make your opponent's attack 0, but they also have some 3-star swarming abilities. So in my opinion, they're kind of a mix between like wind-ups and reptilians. That's kind of how they play. And because they're rock and dark type, that gives them a lot of room to be combined with a lot of different things. So first off, we have 3 Gorgonic Cerberus. So when you normal summon him, you can make all your rock monsters level 3. Basically makes, this deck effectively all pretty much level 3 when you have this card out, which is very, very useful. And then we have Gorgonic Gargoyle, just easy special summon when you normal summon a rock type, so lead to swarming, lead to easy XYZs very quickly. And then Gorgonic Golem gets into the more like 0 attack part of the deck. If a monster destroys him by battle, he makes the attack become 0, which is very, very nice. Really annoying your opponent, leaving them without a lot of options when their monster becomes 0. And you can also banish him to kind of lock down one of your opponent's spells or traps, which is really, really useful. Definitely nice to have an effect like this that has kind of like a double thing where you're locking down their spell or trap for the play, but you're also making their attack 0, so 2 really good effects in one. Then we have Crane, an earth monster that also gives us some swarming ability from the graveyard, which is very, very nice for this deck type. And then Fossil Dyna, mixing with the Rock Stun here. Very powerful card, really annoying for your opponents nowadays. Then we have 2 Meiru cards, Guardian and Sandman, both very powerful beaters, and you'll usually always have a rock type, so not a big deal. And just, very powerful with their ability to negate effects and traps. And then we have Gigantes, very, very easy special summon, and when he gets destroyed by battle, that effect really messes with people, so that could be very nice. And then we have one Thunder King Rai-Oh with the Rock Stun going on. This is very useful. And then Gaia Plate, just kind of a backup boss in this deck. Very easy to get this out, and a very powerful effect to deal with. His cost is kind of annoying to maintain, but later in the duel he's very effective. And then Redox, even though it's kind of a half Earth, half Dark deck, still very nice to have this in the deck to give us access to special summoning from the graveyard to keep doing the plays we want to do. Now for the spells, not many spells, just kind of staple ones in this deck. Dark Hole, Book of Moon, MST, Pot of Duality. Not a lot of room for too much specific spells to support this deck. This deck, I wouldn't add like Forbidden Lance or something like that just because you're not too focused on one monster, but you could add something like that if you want. We're running a lot of traps in this deck, kind of backing up our weaker monsters and also really annoying our opponent by getting rid of their resources. So 2-dimensional prison, 2 mirror force, 2 fiendish chain, one of each of the staples. We also have 1 release from stone, just giving us some ability to summon back from the banished zone, which can be very, very nice for this deck. So now for the extra deck, the boss of the deck, Gorgonic Guardian, getting out extremely easy in this deck with your level 3 rock monsters. Very powerful effect, kind of like Starliege, Paladin ammo, but also it is a quick effect, which is very, very powerful. And in addition, it can destroy monsters with 0 attack. Just a very, very powerful card. Obviously, its attack is really bad, but that's not the point of the card. The point of the card is to really mess up your opponent very quickly. So we're running 3 of it. That's how good it is. We're also running 2 Zenmaines just because of how this deck works. It could be very good to stall and have something like this on the field to kind of get rid of your opponent's resources. 1 Alucard, 1 Giant Soldier of Steel with rock types can be useful. 1 Acid Golem in case, Leviathan, Leviar, Tempo, just kind of staple 3 stars. That can be very useful. For the 4 stars, we're not going to be using too many 4-star XYZs, so we just have the best ones I possibly would want to use. Silent Honor, Exciton, Gagaga, Maestro. So now for the side deck, again, side decks in my videos are kind of just recommended cards that can also work with this deck type. It isn't a side deck for matches. These are just cards that I want you to kind of think about when you're building your own Gorgonic deck that could be useful. Koa'Ki Mirror Wall is also very useful to help you lock down your opponent's spells. Grand Soil, another boss type, but because we're running half Earth, half Dark, kind of annoying. Chronomalies can run really well with this deck. You can run a Chronomaly Gorgonic kind of hybrid build. Not what I'm trying to do here, but I might try it in the future. Legendary Jujutsu Master, another card that really locks down your opponent. Rock Earth type that is very, very annoying. Neospacian Grand Mole, obviously another great rock type that can be useful for this deck. Dark Arm Dragon, because you're running dark type monsters, can be very useful, but it's kind of a half dark, half earth build, so it's up to you. If you're running full darks, might be more useful. Tour Guide from the Underworld, again, if you're running like a full dark build, you can run this and focus more on those 3-star XYZs and, you know, run things like Dark Arm Dragon. Mega Rock Dragon, there's other rock support cards. This card can be very interesting, but kind of gets in the way of what we're doing in the deck. Another deck that this deck can work really well with is Reptilian, so you can run like Vasky and other Reptilians, kind of do a Gorgonic Reptilian hybrid. Another build I might try in the future, not what I'm doing right now. Gorgonic Ghoul, the other Gorgonic card. It just doesn't play well with what I'm kind of trying to do here. You can do certain things with this, like you can swarm and bring out like Lionheart or other 1-star XYZs. You could also bring out this card and normal summon Cerberus and do 2 3-star XYZs in one turn. But it requires immense hand, it requires a bunch of other things going on, and you lose life points to do it. So I really, I'm not sure about it yet, but maybe I'll run it in the future. You could run the field card for rocks, which is Catapult Zone. Up to you. You can load rocks to the graveyard and then focus on Gaia Plate and do other combos, which can be really interesting. You could also do like kind of a rock burn that also uses the graveyard, like with rock bombardment and other things that you're using. Cards like Call the Haunted, Pinpoint Guard, things to bring back your monsters, can be very useful for this deck as well, to continually bring out those annoying XYZs for your opponent to deal with. So that's my Gorgonic deck. Again, just kind of like a mix of Gorgonics and rocks and stuff like that. There's plenty of builds that you can use right now. Still waiting for this archetype to be fleshed out to try even more builds that I'm thinking about. But I do really like what it can do just with a few cards it has. And I really like the boss card. And having access to something like that so quickly is definitely very powerful. But if you guys have your own Gorgonic decks, you could post below. Let me know in the comments. You could talk about what cards you use. Make suggestions for me. Maybe there's some cards I didn't think about. If you have some of those hybrid builds, maybe, you can post below. Those seem really interesting to me, especially Chronomalies. I'm hearing a lot about that build type, which can be really cool. But as always, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you later.